live from the Chevy showroom at the Falls Auto Group here in Corbin, Kentucky, and around the world on www.wkkqfm.com. This is the August 27th edition of the Falls Auto Group Tri-County Sports Hour here at Tri-County Sports, or here at the Falls Auto Sports Group here in Corbin, Kentucky. I'm your host, Steve Black, joined by my co-host, JT Elliott. How's it going, JT?
It is a beautiful night. It's been a beautiful start to the 2015 athletic season.
Kind of the fall weather, kind of getting into the fall season, right?
Tent, feel to the air at night. It's perfect weather right now.
Very good. Very good. Now, tonight, got a couple of new people here, guests on the show. Would like to go ahead and introduce them. Now, before we do that, by the way, you're listening to us on Mix 96 FM. You can also listen to us online at wkkqfm.com, and you can listen to archive editions as well. But you can also see us archived on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, and we wave to the camera, guys. Wave to the camera. There you go. You can go to YouTube, and you can search for Falls Auto Group Mix 96.1, and you can get the show. We've had one in the books already. It's online, and I hear it looked pretty good. Again, I don't have a face for YouTube, but we do the best we can in that. But thanks to James here at Falls Auto Group. He's our videographer there, so James is filming us right now. But I want to go ahead and introduce our first guest this evening, and that's Mr. Larry Dickerson. Larry is a PA announcer. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. He's got some work to do tomorrow night in a PA. Also, he's a radio commentator. Did the game with DC Turner at Knox Central. Again, if you're a Knox Central fan, you can listen to all the action this season on Mix 96.1 FM, DC Turner. Larry was up in Richmond over the weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our review. So, Larry, thank you for being on. Appreciate that.
Well, glad to be here.
All right. Excellent. And another special guest this evening, Mr. Pete Campbell. And JT, why don't you introduce Pete?
Well, Pete Campbell is the head coach of the new men's lacrosse program at University of the Cumberlands. We're going to talk to him about the new sport of field hockey, not necessarily lacrosse, but has some similarities. Is the girls' sport of field hockey being introduced to the KHSAA this season, and about the new program at University of the Cumberlands. Thank you for joining us, Coach Campbell.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
All right, we get a chance to talk to Coach Campbell later in the show, and also, guys, feel free to chime in as we go through and talk about everything that's going on. Speaking of everything that's going on, JT, what's on the agenda for tonight?
On the docket tonight, we got your football review and previews. We'll review the Tri-County football games for week 0. We'll be joined alongside Mr. Larry Dickerson for that. And what else is going on was the best of the rest. All your fall sports reports, all the other girls and boys fall sports. That's cross country, volleyball, soccer. We've got it all covered. We have a special interview with Coach Campbell here discussing field hockey in the Commonwealth. And when can we see that sport hit the Tri-County area? A roundtable discussion with our guests, and we'll conclude with our Take It to the Bank picks for week 1 of the football season. 5-0 on the year so far, Mr. Black.
Well, you stole my thunder, JT. I was going to ask you, should we talk about your record so far, but you already removed all doubt there.
I'm at 100% right now.
All right, 100%. So let's go ahead and just talk about the review from week 0, last week's action. First thing, there were several games in the Tri-County area. A couple were on Saturday, most on Friday night. First, let's talk about the first priority ball. Normally, that's one that's later in the season, but it was the first game of the season. It took place at North Laurel as North and South got it on once again. Now, if you've been following along, you know the score will give kind of the highlights of what's going on. But I kind of start out with this review. It's what can ground and pound do for you? Well, that question was answered Friday night with North Laurel, as they pretty much rushed for almost 400 yards in the contest against the Cardinals. In particular, you had a quarterback, Cole McWhorter, also Steven Nelson was in on the action there. Now, JT, what did Steven do on the night in that game against the Cardinals?
Well, we sort of put him last week as our preseason offensive player of the year, put him on a pretty high pedestal to live up to, and we even said we believe that he can rush for 1,600 yards in the season. We got 122 of those on the ground last week with 4 touchdowns. So 1,478 yards to go. for the 1600 that we have put the pressure on Stephen Ness on that. And I also like your, North Laurel needs a shirt that says that, what can ground and pound do for you? I like that, Mr. Black.
Well, the thing about it is that they only passed for five. They only passed 5 times in the contest. But when you're averaging over 6 yards a carry on the ground, you might as well stick with it. And I think Coach Larkey had a chance to talk to some people and talk about trying to get the passing game going. But when you can run, you might as well go with it.
Here's always the deal with Coach Larkey and North Laurel football. This is always the same story year in, year out. They show nothing in the Gritorama except pass, pass, pass. It's a total poker bluff year in that people fall for. He is a pro-eye, power-eye team. Run it 95% of the time. We're going to run it till it works. That is his philosophy, and he makes it work in North Laurel.
Yeah, and speaking of running, Cole McWhorter, the quarterback, 113 yards himself on the ground. Now, JT, what about the defensive side for the Jags? They were pretty impressive.
Oh, you're not kidding. I mean, this is year in, year out with their defense. They're known for it. They have that hashtag sledgehammer. They've rang it. They're able to go to, they've got enough signs they can use that even front this year and put even more pressure on opposing offenses.
And again, with all that going on, your final score, North Laurel 56, South Laurel 0. And some other stats from the First Priority Bowl, JT, with this clash between the two neighbors in London.
Well, some other things that you need to know between these two is the first time South has ever been shut out in the series by North. North senior class is now 4-0 against the Cardinals. I mean, not really the best stats that you want for South Laurel fans. South Laurel did have some support from Jordan Patterson. He had 14 solo tackles, and Zach Payne had 13 of those. But South Laurel's only held to 35 yards of offense, so that is the tribute to North Laurel's defense.
So again, doing it on offense, doing it on defense, your final 56-0. North takes the victory. Let's go ahead, and we're going to travel over to Hazard as a team that you're familiar with, JT. And for those who don't know, JT is the football public address announcer for the Lynn Camp Wildcats. They traveled to Hazard to take on Perry Central, and this was the first game in the Alan Harris era. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's not off to a good start again. They're up against a 5A team. They had chances early. They were moving the ball down the field early in the red zone. Never could quite punch it into the end zone after they got into the red zone. Also, like I mentioned, the penalties. Dylan Brown returned as the starting quarterback. He wasn't quite as crisp. He was just a little off on his passes, just a step ahead of where his receivers were, so a little off there. They just couldn't get it going on the offensive line or on the defensive line in that area. Because this defense is designed to do nothing but stop the run, and they weren't able to do that. They were 73 yards just in touchdown runs alone, not total rushing yards. So I think Lynn Camp's going to be much happier to get back on a level playing field, get out of the big classifications, get into classifications where they can be competitive now.
Exactly. You were talking about the running game. Again, the Commodores, all their yards on the ground, over 300 yards on the ground. Now, I know that Dylan Brown's coming off an injury and had a little trouble in that game. I hope he's doing all right. Any word?
What I've heard is that he will be back for the game tomorrow night against Perry Central, and they need the offense. Dylan Brown runs that offense very effectively. He's very smooth. Seems to do a very good job at what he's done his second year starting. But this is the 4th time in the last 5 games that the Wildcats have been shut out. They've just had 1 touchdown in their last 5 games dating back to last season.
And, again, the final of the game was Perry Central 40, Lynn Camp 0. Now, Coach Harris, again, he was proud of his players, never gave up. Again, this is a process. It's going to take some time. They're not going to do it overnight. You got to start from somewhere. But I think he was proud of the effort from the team despite the loss.
Adversity, and he preaches to his team character education more than anything. It's not just about wins and losses. Yes, as anyone that coaches wants wins and wants trophies in the trophy case, but Alan Harris will be the first to tell you if that's all he's coaching for, trophies in the trophy case, then he's missed his purpose. He is a big emphasizer of character in class.
All right, again, the final 40-0, your score. Now, there's a theme going on here. We've talked about 2 shutouts already with teams within the Tri-County. Got another one to talk about, and that happened up in Lexington Friday night as Williamsburg, again, a team that's been in the state finals the last 2 years, going into a new era with new players. They go up to Lexington Christian. They drop a 51-0 game to Lexington Christian. It's actually their first regular season loss since 2013. And again, it was pretty much even for about half a quarter, but once LCA got on the boards, things seemed to start rolling for them, and before you know it, it was 37-0 at halftime, and you just do the best you can in that. Now, LCA totaled 451 yards of total offense. Now, here's a telling stat, JT: almost 300 of that in the passing game. What is Coach Herring going to need to do there with that defensive secondary?
Oh man, when you look at the stats and you really break it down, because you've got 4 yards per carry on rushing, not bad. You wanted that 3 yard or lower, so you're right in that vicinity. But you're getting absolutely smoked on defense in the secondary. So one question is, what are you doing with your safety? Is your safety, playing too much of a rover position? Do you need to drop back into a cover 3? And were you just up against a superior opponent that just had the athletes? Because LCA is a good school, or a private school, they can recruit. Coach Calipari's son goes there, so they got plenty of money to put into the program. So all that goes into consideration. Is it a score that I thought I would see 51-0? No, but I was really thinking something along the lines of about 35-7.
Mm-hmm. Now, and we talk about, again, the quarterback position. Again, Dalton Sizemore 2 years ago, Skylar Griffith last year. This year, it's Alex Patterson, and also Alec Poor spent some time at the quarterback position, but Patterson 4'10", 41 yards on the evening, 1 pick. Alec Poor 1 of 5, no net yards. But as what was said, Dalton Sizemore, not impressive in his first start. Skylar Griffith wasn't exactly, lighting it up in his first start either. So again, I think there's brighter things for the quarterback position with the Jackets.
You don't want to play your best football in August. No one wants to play their best football in August.
You got to work to the end of the year.
Yeah, it's all about progression.
All right, well, let's go ahead. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of other games of note in the Tri-County area. We're going to bring in our guest involving in those games as well. So keep it here to Mix 96. You are listening to the Falls Auto Group Tri-County Sports Hour here on Mix 96.1.
Get an all-American deal from folks that you can trust. Made right here in the USA, all-American cars and trucks. They just don't talk the talk, they walk the walk. At Falls Auto Group, you'll feel the difference.
Back at the Chevy showroom here at Falls Auto Group in Corbin, Kentucky. You're listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour. Let's go ahead and continue with our review from last week. Knox Central on Saturday goes up to Richmond to play in the Roy Kidd Bowl, taking on 6A Bryan Station. Not much to cheer about for the Panthers in a 49-0 loss to Bryan Station, but we've got Larry Dickerson here. Larry, you were at the game. You did the game with DC Turner on 96.1 FM. Why don't you give us some quick impressions about how Knox Central played against this 6A power?
Well, Knox Central was obviously overmanned when they came out. Bryan Station has 4 or 5 different Division I athletes on their squad. And when I say athletes, I'm not talking about just big linemen, which they do have. Mikael Orton, I think, who's already signed with UK, but he was blocking up the middle and both sides of the ball. He played nose guard. He was knocking Knox Central's center back. They were in the backfield a lot. Bryan Station's defense was. What DC and myself talked about last Saturday night was that the Panther Nation is what the Knox Central fans call themselves.
Yes.
They're going to have to be patient with this squad. Knox Central has one of the most difficult pre-district schedules in the Tri-County area, if not the state. Definitely the region. I mean, you look at playing 6A Bryan Station last week. Tomorrow night they play in the Cumberland Falls Pigskin Classic against Louisville Central, a team that has gone to 3A.
Perennial state power.
Right, 3A perennial state power, like you just said, and they finished runner-up in the state last couple years, and I think in the last 5 years they've won the state championship 3 out of the last 5 years. But yeah, Knox Central, they're young. The thing about Knox Central is, in particularly at their skill positions, they're young. They've got a junior quarterback in Jackson Stewart who does a good job running the offense. I think they only threw the ball 3 times, did complete a pass. But like last season, what we saw in Donovan Arthur as a freshman, Saturday night, DC and myself, we saw in another freshman in Adam Renfro. So they've got a good backfield. They've got, of course, Frankie Robinson is a senior. They're going to lose him, but this is just game one,
Yeah.
and I look for them to bounce back. And of course, you guys are going to have your picks later on. Will they win tomorrow night? I'm not going to say that they will win, but again, if you're a Knox Central Panther fan, be patient with Coach Russell and his squad, because you know the excitement that he's brought back to Panther Nation. And of course, that was started a little bit with Coach Mills before he moved on to Bell County. But when Scotty Russell took over at Knox Central, that excitement just kind of exuberated and went up to another level. So, they've got a big following, and they just need to be patient. They'll turn it around.
And that's one thing, their fans travel very well. And for those who know Scotty Russell, Mr. Football, big-time running back at Everett's back in the day, he's going to have some good running backs, JT.
Oh, yeah, that's what he's known for. I mean, I really think Coach Russell, even though they run a modified pistol, I think that sort of, gets to him because he wants to run the ball more. But Knox Central, you just have to look, how can I improve this week? That's all you need to worry about. How can I improve this week? Because once district time comes around, then you want to be clicking on all cylinders saying, we've improved here. We saw this weakness against Bryan Station. We saw this weakness against Louisville Central. We took care of it and we've improved. So you want to have those pieces of the puzzles coming together come district time.
Very good. The final in that game, Bryan Station 49, Knox Central 0. Now, on to our next game. JT, what were you doing in 1985?
1985, I was playing with G.I. Joes and Transformers.
So, Larry, what were you doing in 1985?
1985, I would have been a 6th or 7th grader. I've slept since then, believe it or not. It's
You're
been
gonna
30
make
years, so.
you're gonna make me be old here, because in 1985 I was a junior at Middlesboro High School in the marching band, watching my Yellow Jackets play football. And another thing about 1985, that's the first year that Bell County went to the mountain, Log Mountain, and consolidated, and it's been all she wrote ever since. Well, another thing happened in 1985. It was the last time that Corbin and Whitley County played against each other in football. So they renewed the rivalry Friday night. Larry, you were also at that contest. So a couple of things about that and get your impressions of what's going on. But the final score in that game, 35-21, Corbin on top. Corbin went out to a 21-0 lead into the half. Whitley County came back within 7 in the third, and things were really, going good. But then Corbin was able to sustain a couple more touchdowns to get the spread to 35-21. I'm sorry, 35-14. My mistake, typo there. So we'll have to get the writers about that one there, JT. But again, 35-14. Thank you very much, Larry. And again, you were there. I wasn't, right?
Right.
But
You should have been.
But I should have been, right?
Yes.
Because there was about, estimated over 6,000 people at that
Absolutely.
contest. Now, we'll get to that in a moment, but Tucker Jewell had a really good game for Corbin. And also Drew Carter, that's a name I hadn't heard, over 100 yards as well for the Red Hounds. And then Cameron Sizemore didn't do a lot, but was a catalyst and kept the leader that kept the running game going, and that's what Corbin needed in there. Larry, I want you to talk about the experience stuff. We know Corbin won the game again 35-14. There you go, got that right. But just talk about the experience. You were there.
Well, when I got there early because I knew the crowd, the anticipation. I'd spoke with the athletic director there, Mr. John Seiler, and he told me that they were anticipating 5,500 to 6,000 people. And I got there at 5 o'clock just to kind of beat the traffic and everything and give me a good position to watch the game and everything. But when I got there, Steve, at 5 o'clock, and we're talking high school football here, I counted 8 different groups of grills, and groups of people that were grilling out, tailgating, and I almost felt like that I had showed up to Commonwealth Stadium for the Kentucky-Louisville game. I mean, it was great for high school football in this area, and I know you've got the rivalry with North and South. Kentucky high school football fans know the Danville-Boyle County rivalry, and I think that if Whitley and Corbin continue this, that it can get up there and compete with those rivalries depending on the outcomes of these games. And hopefully, they've got two great head coaches who are all about the kids. They put the kids first and the program first, and just like you were talking about Coach Harris, what he does at Lean Camp, you know, Whitley's coach does the same thing, and Coach Jason Chappell, Corbin coach Justin Haddix does the exact same thing. You know, it's all about the kids and how do they get better. You mentioned that a moment ago about Knox Central. How do they get better from week in and week out? So yes, Coach Haddix and his Hounds won the game, but I can assure you that he's going to be looking to get better. But you're talking about the experience. Like I said, you should have been there. For a high school football game in week 0, the first game of the season, it had a regional championship feel for the crowd. It was unbelievable, and everybody should at least get to experience that, especially in high school, because you expect that when you go watch these SEC games and college football games. You know, the NFL, everybody watches NFL games and see how big they are, but for a high school to put that kind of people on campus, and kudos to Whitley County, they did an outstanding job for preparing for the crowd and everything, and opening up different schools on the campus to accommodate, you know, restrooms and so on and so forth. And, you know, I'm going to give them kudos again for their concessions. They had some outstanding, they had deep fried Oreos. I mean, at a high school football game, they're serving deep fried Oreos.
I love deep fried Oreos.
Are you kidding me? So it tells you just how big and how highly anticipated this matchup was. And like you said, for a few moments there, right before halftime, Whitley scored like 6 seconds to go in the second quarter, made it 21-7 after they spotted Corbin a 21-0 lead. Made it exciting. They come back out in the third quarter. You know, they get a few yards. They end up having to punt to Corbin, but their defense holds, and they actually cause a turnover. They take it down and punch it in, and it's 21-14. I'm thinking, you know, wow, we've got a game here, and the crowd was loving it. They were going nuts, but yes, the experience was awesome.
Very good, and not to forget, I mean, even though they were on the losing end, you know, Luke Woods had a really good game, JT, in that contest. I think over 100 yards rushing, I think 118 to be exact. And again, Luke Woods, we talked last week, probably one of the top players coming back in the Tri-County area. And I think he had a couple picks. Mm-hmm. You know, Corbin's defense came up big as well. But you know, I think we're going to see some things, you know, from Whitley County as the season goes on. So again, your final score, 35-14 in that. And just to kind of give away something, you were talking about Coach Haddix. If everything works out, we're going to have him here on the show next week, and we can talk more about that experience and see if that's something they want to continue to pursue with Corbin and Whitley County going against each other. Now, speaking of this, JT, you know, what's something we did last, just kind of a player of the week. Now, you selected quarterback Cameron Sizemore as the Tri-County player of the week. Now, stats wasn't really there, but what was your reasoning behind that?
My reasoning is because look at the atmosphere that you're going up against and the pressure of the game that you're going up against. This isn't like, you know, Larry talked about the SEC. This isn't where, you know, Alabama brings in Eastern Kentucky University so they can get an easy win and everybody has great stats. These were hard-earned stats. So that speaks more to me than a game that was a game where other players could easily accumulate those statistics. I think that was, you've heard about him all year. Cameron Sizemore just showed, I'm here to play. I am the real deal. We are the real deal. So that is what was impressive to me and why I chose him as player of the week.
All right, well, congratulations then to quarterback Cameron Sizemore at Corbin, player of the game here on the Tri-County Sports Hour. Now, again, he's replacing just, you know, one of 18 seniors, you know, that were on that team last year, so a lot going on. So, again, anything else to add to that, JT, before we take a break?
One more thing is I have a huge praise for Whitley County Schools and their Board of Education. Everything I heard was that they were fantastic hosts of this game. Again, a big game atmosphere, and there was no unclassedness or disrespectful issues that are sometimes commonplace between rival schools. So a big praise to Whitley County Schools and their hosting of this big game.
Very good. No incidents at all, Larry? You were there?
None that I've seen.
It was just a great atmosphere.
It was a great atmosphere, and you know, I seen, if you've been on Whitley County's campus, you know, it sits off 25 there, Cumberland Falls Highway, about a half a mile or so, and you've got the the three schools on the campus. But I look back, and it's almost halftime, and cars and traffic is still lined up, and there's already 6,000 people in the stands, and you're like, where are they going to put them? But yes, JT, you gave him praise for making the accommodations great, and they were well prepared for a large crowd, and they did a great job. Unfortunately, for their football team, came out on the short end of the stick, but I can assure you, Coach Jason Chappell, he'll have his colonels ready, and like you alluded to earlier, you know, there'll be a team to deal with later on in the season.
All right, well, thank you very much, Larry, for your contribution here. And that is it for the review of Week 0. We're going to go ahead and take a break. And we come back, we're going to talk about other fall sports going on in the Tri-County area. So again, we're live from the Chevy showroom at Falls Auto Group, and you are listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour on Mix 96.1.
Somewhere right on the corner, right on the price, an old rivalry continues.
Hey, let me show what Lincoln has to offer.
Cadillac can do you better.
My Lincoln Touch.
Cadillac user experience with haptic feedback.
6 years, 70,000-mile powertrain warranty.
The all-new Cadillac CTS-V pushing 556 horsepower.
Park Assist.
Roadside assistance.
So which side performs the best? You decide at Falls Auto Group. Right on the corner, right on the price. North US Highway 25, Corbin.
Back at the Chevy showroom here at Falls Auto Group in Corbin, Kentucky. You're listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour. Your host, Steve Black, co-host JT Elliott. And again, our guest this evening, Larry Dickerson, public address announcer extraordinaire and radio commentator. Also, Coach P. Campbell of the Cumberlands. Now, I worked at Union and do some things at Union College, so don't take offense to that.
None taken.
Okay, all right. Well, right now, we'll go ahead and talk about other things that are going on in the Tri-County. Again, we talk about fall sports. It's not just football. There's other things going on, as JT alluded to earlier. Some of the things that are happening right now, and most of the seasons here with these sports are usually late August until mid-October. And so a couple of sports in particular, volleyball, they're already been in action. And just real quick, there's not everybody in the Tri-County is involved with volleyball. I think a couple of schools, Williamsburg and Pineville, that actually do not have volleyball programs. But in the 13th region, we talk about the 13th region on this show, most of the schools have volleyball programs. And right now, they're first couple weeks into the season, and South Laurel and North Laurel are on top overall within the Tri-County, 7-2, 6-2, respectively. Harlan, independent, undefeated so far. We won't go over all the standings, but we'll allude to those from time to time. Also, JT, we look to have some coaches in some of these other sports on the show as well. But one thing is, can Corbin repeat as regional champions? They were the regional champion last year, made it to the state tournament. What do you think, real quick, JT?
They're a very young team. Jason McDaniel will do a great job with that program. I think they're a little too young to repeat. I think the title travels back to London on the south side to the Cardinals.
Okay, now who is coaching the Cardinals this year? I was checking some information out, and I had this information here, but if I could find that, I apologize for that. But there was one person, I think it was maybe North Volleyball, that was standing out. Lauren Wombles, who was a standout basketball player at South, and it went to the Cumberlands, played basketball, coaching volleyball up there at North Laurel. So that's interesting as well, and that's the point I wanted to allude to. But we'll talk more about volleyball as time goes on this season. I know there's some teams in action tonight, especially this weekend, and we'll kind of keep update on who's doing what throughout the season. Now let's go ahead and jump to soccer, and it's something that JT is very interested in. I don't know if you guys know JT, a former soccer coach over here in Corbin. So we'll go to boys soccer first. And thank you very much, Larry. Mitzi Jones, coach at South Laurel. See, Larry, he's a wealth of information. Had that on the iPhone right there. Very good. So congratulations there, and thank you, Larry. He's helped me out twice tonight. So I got to get it together, Black. I got to get it together. But let's go ahead and talk about soccer. Last 2 years, JT, your Corbin team, or former team, Corbin, making it to the Elite Eight in the state tournament. Is that something they could do for a third year in a row?
Oh, yes. I still think they're the team to beat. And they have some supporting players. They have Trey Simon in the midfield playing varsity level as a freshman. Brendan Disney is a senior goalkeeper. He started last season. And most importantly, well, not most importantly next to Coach Simon, who is by far the glue of that program, they have Lucas Cannonu, who is probably one of the best players to ever come out of the Tri-County area. As long as they have Cannonu, I think they're the top dog.
I thought you were going to do some kind of a political slogan there. We're getting ready to elect a president in a year or so. I don't, Cananu, he's for you or something like that. I don't know. It sounded like you were going there, JT. But you're right. Again, he and his brother last year very good, on the team. But Corbin definitely pretty much on their way for a possible another Elite Eight. Now another team that might be in their way, Oneida Baptist. And when I was looking at some things on them this week, and one thing was that kind of impressed me, 15 different players in that team have scored goals so far this season. And actually, yeah, it's a good sign. They're spreading the wealth. So that'd be maybe a good matchup as we go down the line. Actually, the boys' side, they are the top 2 teams in the region so far.
OBI is probably the most overachieving team you will ever face in the Commonwealth of Kentucky in soccer. We talk about, improvement. That's sort of been the theme of the show. You don't want to be playing your best in August. They are a perfect example of that, they are not the same team from August to October. When you face them, it will be a tough physical game. They play good soccer. Their kids never quit, and they're a team that if you overlook them, you're going to get knocked out in the postseason.
Very good indeed. So we'll be monitoring that as the season goes on. And then girls soccer, can South Laurel, who went to the state last year, can they go back to the Elite Eight this year?
Becky Woodworth has North Laurel rolling early in the season. If they can keep that momentum up, they'll get South a good run. Corbin's a little young. They only have 2 seniors. Brianna Massigill is really good for Corbin. Has a lot of talent there. Hannah Goins will have her team going. But I think it's kind of wide open this year on the girls' side. Again, never doubt OBI. And Knox Central won one of their first games, too, on the girls' side.
Yeah, and I think, actually on the men's side,
That's right.
their first win in program history is the 2nd-year program. And new coach this year, Michael Poff. I know him, I know his dad. He coaches over at the middle school. But yeah, beat Millsboro earlier this season, first win in program history. Definitely something big there, for the Panthers, 2nd-year program for both the boys and the girls side of it. So, and we've talked about this before on other things. JT will talk about it more, but it's good to see, soccer get a little bit more programs get involved in soccer here in the area.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of room for expansion. And I kind of have a pet peeve on that. There is no excuse that Harlan County, Clay County, Rockcastle County do not have soccer programs. No excuse whatsoever. Now, Knox County did it totally the right way. Started with their youth program, kindergarten through 3rd grade, then moved into the middle school program, and now the high school program. They have totally built the program exactly how you should.
And it can be done. There's time, and I think other schools will jump on board as we go along. So again, volleyball and our soccer as well. Don't want to forget golf. That's another sport here in the fall, and we'll monitor that as we go along. I know that they get into October, into the region and the state tournaments, as well as cross country. And cross country, there's 3 classes of affiliations, and our Tri-County teams are involved in those. We'll talk more about that as they get toward the end of the season. And we talk about field hockey, but the thing about it is there's really nothing around here. It's all really a city type thing, but we may discuss that a little bit later as we bring in our guests. But I think, again, there's a lot of different sports going on here in the fall that they're interested in, and a lot of good things going on here in the Tri-County area.
Oh yeah, and it's all about promoting the student athlete. The more opportunities that you can provide students, the better. I mean, research shows that they're more likely to graduate, more likely to have a higher GPA, so the more extracurricular activities that you can offer the area, the better. More opportunities too for scholarships.
Oh, exactly.
Too.
All right, and yeah, it's share the wealth, more opportunities, as you say, JT. Well, let's go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we'll have our interview with Coach Pete Campbell of the Cumberlands, talk about a little lacrosse and other things going on here in the area. Again, live from the Chevy showroom here at the Falls Auto Group in Corbin, Kentucky. You're listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour here on Mix 96.1.
Hi, welcome to Falls Auto Group. I'm not sure the right fit for me. You're looking for a great selection of trusted brands. Right, and a huge selection of new and used vehicles, different styles, and great trade-in value. Service after the sale that's second to none, and free car washes for as long as you own your vehicle.
Right.
I think we found the right vehicle for you.
Perfect. Now how about that price? Right. Now my mom can find this place too.
And we have something for the whole family.
Falls Auto Group, right on the corner, right on
Back
the
at the
price.
Chevy showroom here at Falls Auto Group, Tri-County Sports Hour. Thanks to Richie Grigsby, General Manager, and the great men and women here at Falls Auto Group for being the primary sponsor of the show. This time we want to go ahead and interview our special guest, Coach Campbell. JT, I'm going to let you take it away here. Give us practice here. How's that?
All right, thank you, Mr. Black. So we're joined by Pete Campbell, head coach of the new men's lacrosse program at University of the Cumberlands. Pete, first explain what the game of lacrosse is, because this is something totally new to the area, and I would say the majority of the listening audience, including myself, is unfamiliar with the game of lacrosse.
Yeah, no problem. That's something I get a lot. The game of lacrosse is, it's a mix between basketball, hockey, and soccer. One of the things that I like to talk about is like the history of the game. It's actually America's oldest game. It's a Native American sport played by the Iroquois Indians. And so it's been around for a long time. The Indians used to play it to toughen up their young kids to get ready to go to war. It's a game that's very fast-paced. It's up and down the field. It's got contact. You're going to see some good athletes out there playing it, and it's a pretty fun game on that end.
So, Kentucky High School Athletic Association added girls field hockey this year. I know that's different from lacrosse. Lacrosse is more a men's game, but they're very similar. And right now, only Louisville schools are fielding teams. So, when do you anticipate seeing the game come to the Tri-County area?
I think growth of sports within schools, obviously, it's a slow process. You guys were talking about the growth of soccer and all that as well. I remember when I first got into coaching, I coached high school in Columbus, and we went to a tournament in Louisville, and that was where lacrosse started. And there was only lacrosse in Louisville at that time. So we would go there and play like the St. X's and some of the other big schools out there in that area. And we were looking to, I think that was about 15 years ago almost. So I think 15 years now, lacrosse is at like 28 sports within the state of Kentucky. There's 28 schools that sponsor men's lacrosse in the state, so it might take a while.
Now, we've talked off air a little bit about how the sport of lacrosse really crosses over with football. You recruit a lot of kids that want to play both football and lacrosse, or play that in high school. So, and you come from bigger cities, Baltimore, Columbus, Ohio, and most of the students who play football also play lacrosse, right?
Yes, yeah. There's such a good crossover in sports. I brought in 27 this fall, and I'd say 25 of my guys were multi-sport athletes. I think it's good for kids to play as many sports as they possibly can. The experiences that they get and everything that comes along with being a high school athlete, I think, is huge. And one of the reasons why you see a lot of that crossover is, the contact that lacrosse has. I mean, it's full contact. You get to hit, the football guys like it because they can hit them with the stick or they can hit them with their body. So I think, you see a lot of them that do play both sports, and I think that's a great thing for high school kids.
Oh yeah, I think you're seeing that more and more, the promotion of multi-sport athletes. Now, giving you a chance to plug, you have a brand new facility. It's a brand new program, a lot of excitement. So your chance to plug the program and what you're doing there at University of the Cumberlands.
Yeah, so I've been here for a year and a half. I'm loving the area, getting to know the area. And one of the things that I love about being the lacrosse coach there is I'll walk into Kroger's with after work, and somebody's like, "Oh, you're the lacrosse coach," and all that. And I love that part about it, and the community that really kind of comes with it. What I brought in 27 guys that are eager to play. We have all freshmen this year that are going to learn. Let's be honest, we're going to take our lumps, but it's a process that I'm looking to build. Their job is to make sure that we develop a good culture. Our facilities is one of the big draws that drew me here when I was interviewing for the job. There's not a lot of small schools that have that type of facility. We have our own lacrosse locker room, we have our own practice field, and then we have our own game field that's lit, and it's right there, right off of 75. If everybody, when they drive by, that's the construction that's going on for us, and then they're also building the softball field, which is, you don't see a lot of things that, you don't see a lot of small schools really get into that, especially with the sport of lacrosse. It's not a sport like football or basketball, that brings in a lot of people and people know the game. So that was definitely a thing that I thought that was pretty special about Cumberland's on the lacrosse side.
And new program, And the conference will be the AAC, correct?
Yeah, we're associate members in the AAC, so there's 7 members then, and we'll be playing for the AAC championship as well as one of our goals that we'll be playing in late April.
All right. Now, one other thing that I think it's always good to get an outsider's perspective on things. And we talked off air, and what was your impression of high school football when you came to the Tri-County area, what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen, my first impression was obviously I thought basketball was king. I mean, they always talk about basketball, and I think that's good, but then you start seeing them support that. It's a little different. Where I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, we would draw, football was king. We had news anchors that would fly helicopters between games to show live takes on games and stuff like that. And then basketball was vice versa, and I noticed that it's kind of doing that there. But I also feel like even though football is king in this region and Kentucky, I think football is kind of America's game, and that's something that I think you see that here. They still support it as well.
Well, Coach Campbell, we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and talk to us on the Tri-County Sports Hour. And on behalf of Falls Auto Group, they would like to offer you a free car wash for life. So you never have to wash your car again. You can come right here to Falls Auto Group, and they'll take care of that for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Coach Campbell, being on the show. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, it's Take It to the Bank time, JT?
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. So here from the Chevy showroom at Falls Auto Group, you're listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour on Mix 96.1.
Somewhere right on the corner, right on the price, an old rivalry continues.
Here we have the all-new Chevy Silverado with the Ecotec V6.
Hey, what about the new Ford F-150 EcoBoost V6?
Higher torque,
More horsepower,
powertrain warranty,
towing capacity,
OnStar.
Microsoft Sync.
Guys, how about I test drive both?
So which side performs the best? You decide at Falls Auto Group, right on the corner, right on the price. North US
All
Highway
right,
25.
back at the
Corbin.
Chevy showroom here at the Falls Auto Group in Corbin, Kentucky. You're listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour on Mix 96.1. It is time to take it to the bank. And for those that are new to the show, this is a segment JT makes his picks. He's bragging and all this. He had a really good season last year. What was that record again, JT?
62-7,
Say
92%.
say 92%.
But it is a new year, new district.
Okay. And how are you so far, JT?
I'm at 100% at
What-
5-0.
At 5-0 so far. So we've got some other games on the agenda, on the docket this weekend, week 1. So JT's going to give his take it to the bank picks, and then going to let Coach Campbell, we'll let Larry chime in as well, just throw in their picks, and then we'll wrap up for the night. So first game on the docket is going to be at the Cumberland Falls Pigskin Classic, and Louisville Central taking on Knox Central. JT.
Jackson Stewart and the Knox Central offense, they can put points on the board, but the defensive secondary for the Panthers has a tall order to stop a highly efficient Louisville Central offense. Take it to the bank, Louisville Central wins.
Okay, so Central's going to win, but it's going to be the Central from Louisville. That's what JT says. So Coach Campbell, who do you have?
I'm going to go with the hometown crowd with Knox Central.
Okay, there you go. Go with the hometown crowds. All right. Larry, what about you?
I'll have to agree with JT and say Louisville Central.
Okay, and Louisville Central. Now, Larry, you're going to be the PA of that game, correct?
Not now.
Not now. Okay.
Plans have changed.
Plans have changed. So we'll talk about that another. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. So 2 for Louisville Central, 1 for Knox Central. Okay. The second game in the Pigskin Classic, the host Corbin taking on Louisville Wagner. JT.
Well, in these bowl games where there's 2 games, there's always a main event and there's a socialization game. This is the socialization game. Wagner does have a good quarterback that will probably bust a big play, but this is running clock. Corbin wins. Take it to the bank.
All right, Corbin in this one. Coach Campbell, what about you?
I'll go with Corbin.
Go.
And my boy, the quarterback, Sizemore?
Sizemore.
Yeah.
Going with the player of the week,
That's
Cameron
right.
Sizemore. All right, very good. Larry, what about you?
I'm going to go with the hometown Hounds.
Hometown Hounds, there we go. So everybody for Corbin on here. All right, our next game, Whitley County travels down to Middlesboro to take on my alma mater, the Yellow Jackets. JT, who do you got in that contest?
The Colonels are going to build on the fact that they were down against Corbin, and it could have got ugly against Corbin, but they battled back. They didn't get rattled. Now they are big game atmosphere tested. They are experienced in that setting. They have to improve their ball security, though. It's a big emphasis is ball security. Take it to the bank. Whitley County wins.
Whitley County wins. So, Coach Campbell, what about you?
Whitley County.
Whitley County. Larry?
I'll say roll Cardinals.
Roll Colonels. There you go. Very good. Now, JT, you're going to be at this one. It's going to be Lynn Camp McCreary Central over here at the stadium just down the road. So tell us a little bit about that.
It will be alumni night at the camp. Big crowd expected. Kick off at 7:30. There's going to be a Love Loud tailgate with all the churches starting at 5 o'clock. So come out, have a good time. McCreary Central has some offense. They're a passing team. They put up 40 points last week. They have the momentum. Take it to the bank. Lynn Camp wins.
Not just because you're the PA, right?
No, they will defeat McCreary Central. No bias here.
No bias here. All right. Coach Campbell.
I'll go with JT.
All right. Lynn Camp. Larry.
I'll go with Campers.
All right. 3 for the Campers. All right. Now the Cumberland Valley Bowl. This is Saturday night, year 15 of the Cumberland Valley Bowl. And it's going to be at South Laurel. So the first game, North Laurel against Harrison County. JT.
The Stephen Nelson rushing countdown continues. Take it to the bank. North Laurel wins.
North Laurel. Coach Campbell.
North Laurel.
North Laurel. What about you, Larry?
I'll make it 3 for 3, North Laurel.
Make it 3 for 3. And then the nightcap, the main event, if you will, in that contest, the host, South Laurel, taking on Wayne County, new to the 3A class. JT, who do you have in that contest?
You know, Wayne County last year, they peaked at the right time. They won 4 of their last 5 games. Historically, their offense is designed to let the quarterback shine. They have a strong running game. They build in a lot of screens and short throws. I just think South has a chance in this ball game, but take it to the bank. Wayne County wins.
Wayne County wins. Coach Campbell.
I'll go with Wayne County.
Go with Wayne County. What about you, Larry?
I'll go with the Cardinals of Wayne County.
Going with the Cardinals of Wayne County. Try to make it interesting there for a moment. Now, when it comes to my picks, I always go with the team with the most points. I never lose. All right, JT, thank you very much. We'll see if you can stay undefeated on your picks on the season. So let's all go ahead and time to wrap it up real quick. Larry, thank you for taking the time to come on here tonight. Appreciate it. Coach Pete Campbell, very good. Thank you for coming on. Real quick, when's your next game?
Our first game, well, we have a scrimmage coming up on homecoming weekend. It's the red-white scrimmage that we're having, and that's on September 26th. Our first home game that in the regular season is March 4th.
Okay, very good. Now, JT, one last thing before we end it.
Shout out to Brandy Webb and the Webb family for listening tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for listening. We love the support. Again, for my guest, for my co-host, JT Elliott, this is Steve Black, the host. Tune in next week, folks, because we're going to have Coach Haddix from Corbin High School is going to come over and talk to us. We'll have a lot to talk about with Coach Haddix. So again, from the Chevy showroom, don't forget, you can watch on YouTube. It's going to go up later tonight, I believe, and it'll be on there probably tomorrow, so as James says, but it'll be on there. Again, Falls Auto Group, Mix 96.1. This is Steve Black, your host. Thank you for tuning in, and we say good night from the Chevy showroom here at Falls Auto Group. You've been listening to the Tri-County Sports Hour here on Mix 96.1. Good night.